I was an inpatient at a couple of different wards, and some were old and run down and some were quite new. But I suppose the consistent theme is, at first I felt a little bit like it had elements of what I imagined it would be like to be in prison. And with that came a little bit of fear, and with time that dissipated a little bit, but that was one of my first feelings or responses to this situation. And I did mostly feel safe during my stay and respected. But there were days and there were times when there were new admissions, when someone was really unwell. Particularly the thing I suppose that's different about being in an inpatient unit to being maybe in a mainstream hospital ward is the sounds and the smells and the sights. And at times when someone was admitted and they were very loud, sometimes that could be in the middle of the night if they'd just been admitted. So you're already quite feeling very anxious and are quite unwell yourself. And that can be quite distressing when you're woken in the middle of the night because someone's screaming. So there are those factors that are quite real and quite scary about life on the unit. So my interactions with other patients on the ward was a really levelling factor for me. I feel really, it's changed my life now about how I think about other people, and it helps me to reserve my judgment because I met a lot of different people. So from different ages, different walks of life, different diagnoses. Everybody was there for different reasons. Some of the other people I was there with would be quite loud and experiencing symptoms of psychosis or mania. I didn't ever feel really frightened by any violence on the unit while I was there, but I did see restraints and things like that that are quite confronting. I was very sheltered before this experience happened in my life, and that was all pretty confronting, but a learning experience for me nevertheless. But I suppose something for staff to think about in terms of providing that support, that it is quite terrifying and confronting. In my whole experience of being in a general inpatient unit, I was only in there with one other mother, and her symptoms were very different to mine and her experience and journey different to mine, and it was good to talk to her, but that was the only familiarity in terms of diagnosis of someone else who was there at the same time as me.
I think it can be important as nursing staff to let consumers know that some of the things that they'll see and hear and experience from other consumers might be really outside the spectrum of what would be considered normal, and sometimes might be a little intimidating, a little scary, or just be something that they don't feel like they have the ability to deal with or work with at that time. And so ensuring that they have access to staff readily. Staff are out on the floor, nursing staff are available to have those conversations with and be approached around those behaviors is really important. In terms of safety on the ward, it's also really important that you're visible. So a lot of the time consumers will start to feel isolated. There might be fear from other consumers in sort of bizarre behavior or aggressive behavior or just noisy, chaotic behavior. And seeing nursing staff around actually goes a long way to helping them feel safe and supported, and it builds a relationship by which you are accessible.
The comings and goings on a unit is very hectic, and it depends, very changeable, and it depends on the day as to what's happening. So sometimes I'd have visitors come, we'd have an area where we could sit together, and someone might be quite loudly responding to internal stimuli around the corner, passing by. And I suppose that was a really great learning experience for my family and friends and for me to reduce our stigma and judgment of others and what's going on for them. But it is also quite challenging, I suppose. That's one of the challenges that is there when it comes to visits and maintaining my connection to my family and community.
By making the environment friendly for families, it really does mean that the best care can be provided in a way which really allows the mother to think beyond the here and now, that she can continue with her mothercraft learning experience, and she can also prepare for what happens for the continued care in the community.